Let's talk about club sports. And first of all, I want to say I approach this subject with a lot of experience. I played club for years. I coached club. I recruited from club when I was a graduate assistant coach at Springfield. And I work with hundreds of athletes and coaches who participate in club sports. So I know what it's like firsthand from multiple angles. I want to talk about the pros of club sports, the cons of club sports, and how to navigate these challenges as a family, but also as an individual athlete. So diving right into the pros here. First of all, as a player, you get to play all year round. I loved volleyball so much, so I was so excited that I could play all the time. And if you truly love your sport, you are the one that is asking to play club. And if you're lucky enough, your parents can provide you the resources to do so, then it's awesome. I would have played every single day if I could. So that is one pro for athletes who just absolutely love it. It's not just those 3 months of school season that they have. It extends into more like 8 months of club season. So then you're really playing like 11 months out of the year if you're adding school season on top of that. Second pro here is that it's really competitive. Usually, not all the time, but usually the athletes who play club ball and travel sports are more talented. So it's fun playing against the best of the best and competing at all of these high level tournaments. And sometimes your school team might not be as competitive. So it gives a different pace of play for the athletes who go to a school that might not be a state championship caliber type team. Now, there are cons to each one of these pros that we will get into, but let's just stay focused on the positives. So far, you get to play all the time. It's more competitive usually. Third, you get to travel. I got to see so many different cities growing up because of volleyball, and that was really cool for me. It was also such a great bonding time with my parents, too. We would always go out to eat or do something touristy, all these long road trips. I got to skip school here and there, which was fun too. So you get to travel a lot with your travel sports. Fourth pro, you get more skill development. So there are more coaches, which means different perspectives, and you get a broader range of skills just from hearing different voices and how they teach very similar things, but in different ways. So more time to work on your skills too. And learning from different coaches is great because you see their different coaching styles and it prepares you for the real world in a lot of ways. You're not always going to get assigned a coach you love or teammates you love. You have to learn how to work and play with a lot of different people over the years. The fifth pro that I would say is more exposure for recruitment. So most high school and middle school seasons line up with collegiate seasons. College coaches are not focused on recruiting during that time. Club sports, that is where college coaches go to recruit. So for example, like volleyball and basketball and soccer and lacrosse, that gives you more exposure for college coaches to come watch you. And typically there's showcase tournaments where a bunch of college coaches come to. You're typically emailing out your schedules. If your club is pretty well known, a lot of college coaches will just naturally migrate over to those teams. So it's great, more exposure if you want to play in college. I'm not saying you have to play club sports in order to get recruited. Definitely not the case with football. Obviously, there's no football club teams. You don't have to play club to play in college, but again, more exposure and just more skill development. All right, getting into the cons here. Con number one, huge time commitment. There are lots of weekends where you travel, and that comes with a lot of sacrifice. You will miss time with friends, dances, homecoming, proms, Friday night football games, family time, weddings. I can't tell you how many weddings I missed growing up. But on the bright side of this con, it does teach you what it means to stay committed to something and what sacrifice is. However, it is a very big time commitment, and you do miss out on other normal high school childhood things. So with that big time commitment, it's a lot easier to form an athletic identity because it seems like your entire life revolves around your sport. And it's really hard to see yourself in any other role. And looking back, that was definitely my problem. I had this huge athletic identity that was hard for me to get rid of. And it's when you play all year round, you don't really have time for a job. So my job was playing volleyball, and all of these other athletes in club sports, that is typically what they do. Whereas if you don't play a travel or club sport, you have time for internships and jobs and kind of building up your resume and other skill sets that way. So I would say, along with that big time commitment, a second con is just more at risk for forming that huge athletic identity. Third con, it's expensive. Club fees, traveling, forms, gear, lodging, registration fees for tournaments. These can add up substantially. I don't really have any further comments on this one. Definitely expensive though. Another con is burnout in the physical toll. So because of the higher intensity, more frequent training in games, because you are playing all year round. There are some AAU teams that play 3, 4, 5 games a day, which means less rest, and players can definitely get more burnt out physically and mentally. And overuse injuries are more likely too, because they don't really have a time to rest their bodies. And that's why I emphasize to my athletes all the time, you have to have a rest day. And usually we'll see December being that month where athletes have typically off between like school seasons and club, unless it's really basketball. But use that time to rest and to just take a little break from your sport. If you have 1 month of the year, then really use that to rest. You aren't going to lose your skills. You can have a few lessons here and there, and definitely keep up like your strength training, conditioning, but make sure you're also taking that time to rest. Parents, I always suggest you take your kids on vacation, take them on a week-long vacation somewhere where they can just decompress from their sport and really disconnect from the world. Another big con to club sports is early specialization. I see this being a huge, huge problem now. So since club sports are all year round, kids are starting to specialize and only play one sport, literally starting at the age of 8, which is so bad. Let them develop other skills, other muscles. It's good for them not to be great at every single sport. It's humbling. Let them have a fun sport and maybe a more serious one. But that's the time for them to just really try a bunch of different sports and see what they really like. But also, along with that, we see a lot of kids not really just being a kid. Right? I tell the families I work with all the time, is your kid just being a weirdo and going outside and making mud pies? Like, they should be doing that. There should be time to let them use their imaginations and run outside and play capture the flag and make up all these imaginary games with the neighborhood kids. So make sure as families that you are not falling for this insane club travel schedule at such a young age. They can do that in maybe late middle school and definitely high school. But when they are young, they don't need to be playing one sport all year round. Let them be a kid, let them have fun. That's where a lot of their creativity and focus can actually be developed, and learning how to just work with other people and make friends. And finally, I would just say that club sports can definitely add to pressure and stress. There are a lot more adversities to navigate. And if you don't have the tools to navigate these, it's going to just lead to a lot more pressure and stress. I'm talking the adversities of playing time, especially when you're playing a lot and you might be sitting the bench, maybe different coaches, dramatic teammates, the different teams, if you make the ones, the twos, or the threes, etc. And let's just not forget about the parents who are yelling at their kids on the sidelines. So it's really important to be aware of all these, but ultimately, club sports don't exist to ruin kids' lives. They provide a lot of great opportunities. You, as a family, though, you need to make sure you're navigating the demands and not getting lost in all the chaos and the challenges that come with it. You want to make sure you're keeping those pros at the forefront, and that it's your athlete who really wants to do the club sports. I posted on social media saying that there's a lot of competitiveness dying in athletes because it's all about me, my mistakes, my playing time, my errors. We can just get very internal and selfish as athletes now, versus just finding a solution and rising to the challenge, being competitive, getting the job done. Like, why did coach yell at me? Don't take it personal, ask for another rep and try it again. And there were hundreds of comments on this video, half of them blaming club sports and half blaming parents. I'm not going to sit here and blame one or the other. I think there's a lot of different factors that play a role here. However, I do think it's very important that the right values are being instilled at home. Parents, You have to help your athletes find solutions to challenges. You can't solve all their problems for them. You can't sit there and complain about their problems too. If your athlete wants more playing time, trust me, they will work up the courage and talk to coach about what they can do to earn that. Ask them, well, what are you going to do about this? How can I help you find a solution to this? Get them moving forward and taking control of what they can control. It's their sports journey, it's not yours. And I know a lot of parents are going to have a hard time hearing that. Athletes, if this is the sport you love, find some gratitude and start looking at what you do have, not what's missing. I think it's very easy to get caught up in the idea that you have to play this one sport all year round and do all these private lessons and be the starting outside on the ones team or else you won't get recruited. I worked with a player one time and she was a phenomenal athlete. She was a basketball player and she was committed to a Big Ten school. She was a junior in high school and she was living 10 hours away from her family to play for a really good high school. She wasn't performing well. She was kind of in a slump. That's why they reached out to me. Her dad was living with her, but they were away from her mom and siblings. But my question to them was, for what? Their family was separated. Basketball was her entire life and became so much because everything she and her family did, it was for her basketball. So guess who felt like she couldn't make mistakes and had to be perfect? They thought that I was the solution working on her mental, when in reality, she just really needed to go back home and be with her family and probably get a part-time job doing something silly and running around with her friends on Friday nights. Ironically, that would have helped her so much more because it would take some pressure off and she could just ball out and do her thing when it did come in time for basketball. We can't blame coaches either. Coaches give a lot of their time to coach club. Find some gratitude. Are you going to have some bad coaches? Yes. You will have bad teachers in your life. You will have a bad doctor. There are bad police officers, bad priests. There are even bad sports psychology consultants. Yes. You can't do anything about the delivery of the feedback and their coaching decisions. But you can control what you choose to care more about. Do you care more about the love for your sport and getting better? Do you care more about what the heck coach is doing? And this is what I'm helping athletes do, to not get lost in all the drama and the uncontrollables, to use their athletic gifts to really inspire and be a part of something that's bigger than themselves, and to learn the tools to be able to power through all those adversities and become not only a better athlete through that, but a better person. I tell my athletes all the time, this isn't just a rant session with me. This is the time where we really empower you with the right tools to be better and enjoy your sport. For more one-on-one sport psych information and training, please feel free to email me, georgia@rootedsportpsychcoach.com. You can visit my website, rootedsportpsychcoach.com. In summary, there are a lot of great things about club sports. There's some cons with it. You just got to make sure you're staying grounded in what is most important and not getting lost in all the drama and the chaos that can come with sports nowadays. Thank you all for tuning in another week.